That's where like what's going on in Africa is really interesting because all of this electrification that we're seeing in Africa is happening without a grid infrastructure. Probably the biggest issue, at least in the midterm, is definitely our grid infrastructure. Interconnection seems to be a big challenge. The world that we live in here, at least like in the United States and in Europe, is so much based upon the grid infrastructure that has been put into place. That's where like what's going on in Africa is really interesting because all of this electrification that we're seeing in Africa is happening without a grid infrastructure. So in places like Europe, the United States, I think what's really a big challenge is definitely the fact that the system is designed around this grid, and we've got to figure out a way to either our grid, which means you got to like build more grid capacity or build more grid connection capabilities. What you're also seeing, at least in the world of data centers, is in some cases they're just going off the grid and building microgrids in order to not have to be tied into the grid, which is kind of like what you're seeing in some of the developing parts of the world. But you may even see that a little bit more.
An example, they actually might have a blessing and a curse at the same time as well, right? So if they won't have an old grid, which we do have in Europe and in the US from the 50s, 60s, 70s, might be able to actually build a better grid that's a bit more decentralized, much more stable. And with the use of solar and batteries as well, it's going to be hopefully much more resilient than the things that we currently have here.